But speaking of cuts, we're gonna cut to the development of game studios. So what we got going on here is we have Stig Augmusson of
Godlike.
formerly of who is it? He was the EA. He was with EA doing Star Wars Jedi Survivor, Star Wars I'm blanking on the name of the game. Fallen Order. So
Jedi Survivor.
He has he also did God of War 3. He directed God of War 3, which was probably one of the best games in the franchise, to be honest. Like a lot of people kind of switch between 2 and 3. He was also there for 2. He was part of that development team as well. He is announcing a new studio that is called Giant Skull. But with that being said, it was like the week of new studios. Because those who also are part of id Studios and Activision announced a studio called Empty Vessel. So we got these new studios, and I'm taking a shot in the dark. This is pure speculation to say that this is just all part of all of those talented devs that have been laid off recently, saying like, let's just do our own fucking thing. And they're coming together and they're making these talented. I'm excited for what these studios are going to produce. What do you guys think?
I am too, but it's 50-50, right? It's like I'm all for this because I'm so tired of this direction that games have been going, where everything is just AAA or it's AAA or bust from these big like publishers, especially Sony and whatever, right? But I feel like once people start leaving, once people start branching off, making their own shit, it's hard to gauge what's going to happen, because they can either make a hit or a couple of hits, right? And they do well enough to, like, you know, make sequels, do whatever whatever games that they've been wanting to make that the publishers wouldn't allow them to make. But then it's like we've seen so many studios where people will leave, like the big publishers, they'll leave, they'll put out a game, and even if it does slightly okay, it's not enough to keep that studio afloat, right? And then they all just end up going to the fading away. So it's really it's supposed to be like a good thing, right? I guess when you hear like, oh man, these well-known developers, a few of them like that we know, right, from previous games that we've liked. Oh wow, cool, they're going off to make their own studio. Like in your average person's head, you would think, oh, that's great. Me, it leaves like a kind of like a negative feeling for me, because I'm like, so what are they gonna do? Like, hopefully the game that they make does well, or it's a wrap. Like, because you know what I think about? I always think about this shit. I always think about Platinum Games, bro. Every single time this happens, I always think about Platinum Games. Now, obviously, that's just one company, right? There have been companies that have went off and done their own thing. Actually, you know what? More recently, what's the studio that did what was the Dead Space? The game that was like Dead Space.
Volition. Was it Volition?
What was it?
No.
What was that game?
I think Volition was the one that originally did. Oh, Visceral
it
games,
ran like
right?
crap
Visceral
on PC.
Callisto Protocol.
Callisto Protocol.
That's the game you're talking about.
Remember
that was the head of the former head of.
To be, and how everyone was like, yeah, this is the Dead Space killer or whatever the hell. Like, yeah, this is the game that they wanted to make, and then it just didn't do well. I mean, I don't even know if I'm sure it sold well, maybe. I don't know. But I haven't even heard anything from them. Like,
I think it might have sold well, like before the game got released, and then the word of mouth got around, and then
Striking Distance Studios was the new studio, but it was Glenn Schofield from formerly Visceral Games. Yeah,
and then I think about stuff like that. I think about Platinum Games, where Platinum Games, Platinum is like the most coin flip studio of all time, bro. And I love them. Like, I love those guys, right? Yeah. They gave me some of my favorite games of all time. Bayo. Before they were Platinum, there was Okami, there was Beautiful Joe, there was they've made really good shit. And then they come together, they make Platinum Games, they give us Bayonetta, right? They give us Mad World, they give us fucking what else?
Mad World, man.
There's been a lot of stuff. There's been a lot of stuff.
That cover shooter, what do you call it?
Vanquish.
Vanquish.
Yeah, Vanquish. It's been a lot of stuff, but then in between those, like Wonderful 101, what happened?
I was gonna say, didn't the same thing happen with Vince Zampella? Remember when they left Infinity Ward and created
isn't that Respawn?
Respawn, yeah.
Yeah, that's yeah.
And then
but
they
leave Respawn too.
I think he's still at Respawn actually.
Yeah, and then
but there was also some other heads that like, it's like a cycle of things that like it's this same cycle where it's like heads of studios or talented devs, right? They're like leaving and creating their own studios, and it's like. It's always like sometimes they have bangers, and then
I don't think he left to make his own studio. I think EA paid for him to do all that. They gave him the means and the funds to come work at EA.
Yeah, because it was acquired. Right? Respawn was acquired by EA, but I think that whole story with Infinity Ward, like the other two heads, didn't they go off and do something else? And there was, God, what was it? I can't remember. Yeah,
but like,
there's a lot.
So like. Yeah, the point I was trying to make is like Platinum gave us all those great games, and then in between all those games, it's been a flop. It's been like a flop. It's a good game. It's a flop. It's a good game. It's a flop. It's a good game. Now Platinum is lucky because a lot of the time, you make a flop, it's over for you. Well, in this industry right now, and at this moment in time, you make a flop, it's over. Like everyone's getting laid off, studios getting closed, or whatever. It's over. But Platinum has been around for a while, right? It's a Japanese company, so it's kind of different. So. But that's the example I always think of because Platinum right now is they kind of struggling, and I love them, right? But they not really firing off like they used to fire off. So whenever I think of like people going off and making their own studio, I just hope that they're able to, make whatever game that they initially wanted to make, or make whatever games that you initially wanted to make that you couldn't make under Sony or under Microsoft or Activision or whatever. And I just hope they succeed, man, because it's rough, especially right now. Could you imagine going off and then making your own studio right now and thinking about how you're going to keep your company and your studio afloat for the next decade or two? Let's just say decade, the next 10 years. Shit, let's say the next 2 years, because you never know what the fuck is going to happen. Like, so that shit's rough, man. But hey, if you're passionate and you're creative enough, you can make it work, right? You know what I think about? What's my fault? What's that studio that Activision? It was Activision had it, and then Microsoft acquired it, and then they left once Microsoft. Toys for Bob, right? I don't know if Toys for Bob gave me one of my favorite platformers of all time. Shout out to Crash Bandicoot 4. If you didn't play that game and you like platformers, you suck. Just saying. Like Crash Bandicoot 4 was so good, right? And you know what? You know what was crazy to me? That game was so good that I was like, okay. This is the beginning of a new era of like Crash Bandicoot platformers, maybe Spyro, right? We're gonna get all this shit that Activision just held dormant forever, and then they get acquired, and then Activision's like, we're gonna dissolve you guys. We're gonna make you guys work on Call of Duty. They basically just consolidated all their fucking teams that were making smaller games and said, oh, you're all just gonna work on Call of Duty now. You're just gonna join the Call of Duty cogwheel now. Then Microsoft acquired them, and then I think they left.
Yeah, they just went indie 2 weeks ago.
So what's Crash? What's happening to Crash, bro? Now, anyway, that's beside the point.
They can't work on Crash.
Well, they probably don't own.
They can't work on Crash because they're not. They don't.
Because they don't have the license.
Can't unless they get fucking.
They could make a Crash substitute, Mighty Number 9.
If they get contracted to do it, which they probably won't, since I'm 9 times out of 10. I don't know how it is, but I'm sure there's some like feelings when people leave a company, right? I'm sure like the people at the company still are like, yeah, we're not gonna contract them to do anything else. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And this is why I always think about Platinum, because we always talk about how, man, I want Okami 2, want Beautiful Joe 3, right? I want Platinum Games to make like their old shit. But then you think about how like they probably have a Capcom has a crazy ass grudge against these motherfuckers. I guarantee. There has to be some type of bad blood, right? Like I feel like there has to be. But that's just me being, I guess, the confrontational person that I am. If I were to leave a company, I would assume that they wouldn't want to work with me anymore.
Bro, this is the company that made a Mega Man game without even they didn't give a fuck about Mega Man game. But based on the fact that someone, like the creator, was trying to make their own quote unquote Mega Man game, they're like, nah, the hell out of here. Mega Man 11. Then we got the best Mega Man game ever. And then
they were like, Inafune? Who's that? I don't know who that is.
Well, to be fair, that man got deleted literally after that game.
Did he really? After Mighty Number 9?
Mighty Number 9.
What the fuck? What has he done?
Bro.
So
that's crazy.
What has he done since?
One of the original Kickstarter scams.
I just know it was funny.
Me neither.
Like, that's what I thought Capcom. I always think Capcom is not even just Capcom, just companies in general. When somebody leaves, I feel like, let me not say leaves, right? If you get laid off, look, if you laid me off, I'm definitely not working for you no more. All right, let me stop. That's just me being petty.
Real talk. But, do you guys think like Nintendo's that salty?
No.
Like,
no.
Okay.
Actually, wait a minute. Yes. Hell yeah, I think Nintendo's that salty. You know why? But then I think that's just the Japanese culture is very. I feel like, I don't know, man. I feel like
it's like a loyalty thing. Bro. Like, how dare you leave us?
I feel like they can be vindictive. Like, I don't know. I'm not in Japan. I can't speak for that. I'm sure somebody else knows more than me, but I feel like there's some like vindictive shit going on when that happens.
Right.
So I don't know.
Some kind of honor system going on there.
Like, oh, you want to leave and then make a Bayonetta? But we got that's why Devil May Cry 5 was so good. I'm telling y'all.
Yeah.
I guarantee that is why Devil May Cry 5 was so good, because that competition, right? They saw Bayonetta 2 Bayonetta 2 changed the game, right? That shit got so much like acclaim that Capcom was probably like, man, shut those guys up over there. Make Devil May Cry 5 godlike.
Same thing with Mega Man 11, right? Like, there was like, Mighty Number 9's coming out. Here's fucking Mega Man 11, which is super good.
Because you notice beforehand, they didn't give a fuck about. I mean, they haven't given a fuck about Mega Man since.
Still don't give a fuck about Mega Man.
They'll just crush our hearts every week by showcasing Mega Man stuff on a billion other games. But never mind.
No, I feel you. But like, back to the point, like, I just, oh man, that's why I always have like that negative feeling when it comes to people leaving their publishers and then making their own studio. Sometimes you have to. Obviously, you get laid off. What are you gonna do, right? But I just want, like, God of War 3 was one of my favorite. I know everyone loves the new God of War reboots or whatever, but God of War 3 to me was peak. God of War 2 and 3 to me are still the best games in the entire series. No one's telling me otherwise. Sorry.
Agree.
Like, yeah, the story's great, but the gameplay to me is not the same. The gameplay to me is what made God of War 2 and 3 phenomenal. The gameplay, the puzzles, the gameplay was what made those games to me. And as we started moving forward, like we always say with Sony, we started moving forward with this AAA mindset where everything has to have like we need like 50 different people working on the game script for the story, which is fine, right? We need to make sure that it has like the dopest looking graphics ever, which is fine. But I feel like they always miss out on the gameplay. Like, I don't care about The Last of Us because I don't like the gameplay, right? I like God of War, but I personally feel like I only enjoy okay, look, they're good games. They're great games. But me personally, I feel like I only get so excited for them because I originally liked God of War anyway, right? I like Kratos, and seeing that character develop was what made me enjoy those games more than I feel like I would have if they weren't God of War games.
Yeah.
If those weren't God of War games, I don't think I would have liked them as much as I did, right? So Sony has like this thing where they want to push AAA, whatever, and God, I'm getting tired of talking about that. I'm getting depressed now. I'm getting depressed now because I don't want games to go in this direction, bro. But yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Paul.
I was just gonna say on the whole thing, making a good game, and it's very similar to like trying to make a good movie. I'm pretty sure no one sets out to make a bad game or a bad movie.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
You know what I mean? But there's just a lot of elements that need to go together. You can have the best talent in the world, but if they don't get along, or or they don't agree creatively, or if they don't synergize, or if management's messing with them, or you go over budget, under budget. There's so many elements in how like the greatest talent can set out to make a game, but it's not necessarily a guaranteed success. So
you know what I want? I want I can't even say the old days, right? Because the old days were still people trying to come out on top, right? Everyone was trying to make the next everyone was trying to make the next Mario game. Everybody was trying to make the next hit, right? Everyone was trying to make the next GTA and the next Crash Bandicoot, the next whatever was hot at the time. Everyone was trying to compete and make the next good thing, right? So I can't say it wasn't always like this, but I feel like since gaming was so new, right? This was before it was mainstream. This was before everyone had like expectations, right? we were able to see way more creative things going on.
Mm-hmm.
So and I feel like that's because there weren't more players in the game, but there were more fresh players in the game, if you get what I'm saying. Like back in the day, there was a new studio like every fucking other month. And then, you know, either Sony would pick them up, Microsoft would pick them up, Nintendo would pick them up, like Monolith. Like these guys, some of these studios have been around for a while. They just weren't relevant, right? Vanillaware, right? Like a lot of these, I want more studios like that, which is why that's the positive side of devs going off and making their own studios, is that maybe they'll make some niche, not niche, but maybe they'll make some an indie game that takes off somewhat like Hades or I don't want to call Ori an indie game, right? Because that definitely had some, you know, Microsoft behind it. But games like Stellar Blade, games like you know, just random games from random studios that we wouldn't expect, that aren't the typical AAA budget games from fucking Sony. And I don't even want to say Microsoft, because I feel like Microsoft gets the picture now, right? I don't know. But that's the other side of the coin, where it's like, I hope they just make a good game that's creative, that you've quote unquote wanted to make or whatever. But here's another negative, right? Now, so how many times have you seen these studios? They go off and they say, yeah, now we have the creative freedom to do whatever we want, whatever. Now that we're not under the constraints of this and that. And then they go off and make like the same type of game. Like they literally go and make the same type of game. And they're like, wait a minute, I thought you said you wanted to make something different. This is the same shit you just made with a different name under a different publisher or whatever, right? Like,
are you talking about like
the same shit?
I thought you were talking about Bungie.
Well, yeah, Bungie too. But Bungie's different because, you know, Sony was like, yeah, you got to make us a first-person shooter like you made for fucking Xbox, right? You know, they did that shit. Sony definitely did that. But actually, no, I can't say that because what the fuck is Marathon? Anyway, we'll talk about that later. Yeah, I just feel like sometimes this is bullshit, bro. Like, it's like they think about it, they go into the boardroom and they're like, yeah, let's make this crazy ass random silly game that we always wanted to make. And then someone comes in like, yeah, that's not gonna make us any money. Let's just make another first-person shooter or some shit like that. And then you end up being the product of what you hated anyway. I was like, I don't know. It's so weird, man.
Man. Look, I don't know about you guys, but I have been a company that, like, it was kind of mom and pop before it went corporate. And it's like, man,
and then you watch it turn into what they hated.
You see the place turn, yes. You watch the place slowly turn soulless, whereas like everything was kind of like open door policies.
Yeah,
and
the
like
mom and pop
people
shops
would
be
target
like,
each other.
we're gonna keep shit our way. We're not gonna fucking conform to this and that.
And then the money starts coming in. 4 months going in. Next thing you know,
like,
the boss's door, the boss's door is closed. They don't even serve any lunch anymore. There's no water.
Yeah, but sometimes you kind of have to do that, right? Because you got to keep fucking bread on the table. You got to keep roofs over people's heads. You got to pay people. So sometimes you don't have a choice. But I always find that funny though. Like they went and made Callisto Protocol, and I'm like,
it's the same shit.
Just not made something different. And then the Dead Space remake came out, and it was good. It was like, did y'all really have to do that? I feel like they just put themselves in the dirt with that one. But whatever.
Yeah. Did those games come out around the same time? Am I wrong on that?
Yes, they came out within a month of each other. Yeah. I'm pretty sure Callisto Protocol came out in December, if I'm not mistaken. And Dead Space came out in January.
Damn.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, again, like I said, you can always have the best of intentions.
And I guarantee EA did that shit on purpose. I guarantee they did this. They were like, "Oh yeah, y'all want to fucking this? What y'all want to do? This the game y'all want to play? All right, Dead Space come out a month later, like, and it just happened to be the better game. That's unfortunate.
Maybe we just need game companies to just be salty all the time.
We do, because we've gotten the best games when they've been under pressure.
It's true.
Like, isn't that how it always works creatively? When you're under pressure, that's when you're the most creative.
Unfortunately, in the case of Callisto Protocol, they didn't make a new Dead Space iteration. They did Dead Space remake, which is like, yeah, it was good. I played it. It was fantastic, but
it was better than Callisto Protocol.
It was better than Callisto Protocol, to be honest. But I think that's what they were shooting for, because it wasn't something new. Where in the case of Inafune, it was like Mega Man 11 is this whole new game, right? I just think like yeah, it's so it's weird when they do similar things, but it's also like if that's where your talent lies, right? Like that you do what you're good at. But in the case of like, I think Stig is one of those like exceptions, because if you look at like his resume and you look at like God of War 3 and then you look at Jedi Fallen Order, that's like a completely different game. And I just think there's a lot of talent.
I think third-person action games are pretty similar. Obviously, not
third-person action, but like not gameplay-wise. But I also think it's more of a. I think to attest to your point, Despair, where it's just like there's always that concern, where it's just like, are they gonna release flops? Maybe they'll release a couple of bangers, but there's probably flops. I think it all depends on leadership. And who is the lead, right? With Stig, it's like that next studio, whatever they release, is probably going to be a banger, because he probably just got tired of he probably got tired of all the influx. Because the thing is, you're also working with a Star Wars game, right? Yeah. Which in working with Star Wars in the franchise in the game, it's like it's working with Disney, it's working with a lot of those restrictions, you know.
He has all those games were good, despite Jedi Survivor.
That's
running like ass.
Despite bugs and performance issues, the game is really good.
Fallen Order was godlike. Yeah. So God of War 3, like I said, was one of my favorite games. Mm-hmm. So like, but the thing is, right? I've trusted developers before, and then see them go off and do their own thing, and the thing that they make is ass. Right?
Because they didn't have someone to rail them back in. You don't want to
get hurt again.
Let me not say
you don't want to get hurt again.
Not ass.
Let me just say ass, but it doesn't live up to their previous shit.
They just didn't get reeled. They just didn't get reeled in and focused by, like a publisher that would do something like that, right? Like it's just like, here's what you got to do, right? Here's what you're contracted to do. Just focus on that, right? When they go off on their own and they do their own, I think the only person who's been able to go off on their own and do that shit is like Kojima, right? Like.
This is gonna sound so bad, but no, even Kojima.
I'm gonna say
the same thing. This applies to Kojima too. These motherfuckers need a leash. Because somebody like the most creative people, like I know me personally, I know how I am. And if I don't have somebody that's like, yeah, don't do that. I'm gonna have ideas I'm gonna have ideas bouncing off the fucking, I'm gonna have like a bunch of bouncy balls and they're all just gonna be bouncing off the walls back and forth, just knocking everybody's brains out and doing all this crazy shit. Like
AKA me.
Right. I'm gonna need somebody to just be like, yo, all right, shut the fuck up, bro.
Like, all right, bro. So here's I like where you're going, but let's keep it here, bro.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like, bro. So y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. Like, these people the most creative people need a leash, bro. So I feel like that might be why when these devs go off and make their own teams, sometimes they don't really succeed because they don't have anybody to be like, no, that's not really a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, true. I kind of felt like the same way with like Christopher Nolan and stuff. In the beginning, he probably had a big leash, and then the Dark Knight came out, and then all of a sudden, because don't get me wrong, those movies cinematically perfectly made, right? But like if you really went deep dive in the writing. There's definitely some fucking plot holes going on there that like wild. I felt like otherwise, and then people knew, but they were just too scared to say something. Yeah. You know what I mean? So you always need that.
I think that was the effect of like going from the Dark Knight to the Dark Knight Rises, right? Because the Dark Knight is quintessentially like probably one of the, if not the best Batman film to date, and then you got Dark Knight Rises, which comes out, that's the one that's full of plot holes and all kind of.
That was a good ass.
Yeah, just as a good ass movie. Yeah. I was watching it earlier today.
Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. It's not a horrible movie, but like if you really were to deep dive, there's definitely certain moments in that film you're like, how can, huh?
I can nitpick all day.
Yeah. I could definitely nitpick.
Yeah, I can nitpick all day, but I loved it and I saw it 4 times in theaters. So
No, I feel because like cinematically, like it's great. But like from a writing perspective, but you could just tell when creatives get more power that people are more afraid to speak truth. You know what I mean? And part of
like
creating
that
something.
Sucks. Yeah, well that's like
some feedback that.
I haven't seen it, but that's like Tenet, isn't it? Because everyone's like, "What the fuck is going on?" Right? And everyone's just like, "This is the greatest." And it's like, what the fuck is going on? I haven't seen it yet, so I can't really speak on it. But you know what I mean? Like that's what I assume is the case.
It's
It's a watch. But then he got Oppenheimer. He totally redeems himself. Wins an Oscar, Best Picture. Let's go. I gotta watch that shit too. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just not in the mood to sit for like a 3-hour dialogue movie.
Yeah. I say that, but I can watch fucking 30 episodes of anime in a row.
The thing is, I feel you on that, but it's just like, I feel like I gotta prep myself because of the topic. It's like World War II.
Yeah.
It's just like,
it's heavy, man. That movie seems heavy as fuck.
And I just feel like especially with the stuff going on around the world, I'm not gonna get political or anything like that. It's just kind of like, I don't need to see a movie because we're going through it right now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so, but good luck to these studios. But like what's this guy, Giant Skull? It doesn't look like they're gonna be independent for too much longer because they want to build a AAA single player action adventure, which to me is, I don't think they're gonna be able to do that like independently for that long. So someone's probably gonna scoop them.
I mean, you can probably do one.
If
everybody
game
gets one
and does well, then boom, there you go. But if
it
doesn't, you put that money into it, GG.
Yeah, you can have a success of like a Helldivers or a Pal World who is like so successful and getting so much money they don't know what to do with it.
That's so rare.
It's so rare. These are the outliers. These are the exceptions, not the example. You know what I mean?
Not the example. Yeah, that
it's the hope and the dream, right? Like it's like the Michael Jordan of what you're shooting for, right?
Yeah, good luck.
Basically, that man hit the lottery, or whoever that is. That
pretty
whole
much,
team. And they don't know what to do. They're literally in shock.
What he did is harder than hitting the fucking lottery.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. But for those who are going for, like Fala said, best of luck. I look forward to whatever Stig Studio is going to be doing. I also look forward to Empty Vessel.
I want more devs that aren't attached to these giant publishers. That's all I want.
Exactly.
Because
it's like having their freedom, creative freedom, you know?
Every game I've played, let me say, obviously not every game, but the games that stood out to me the most in the past few years have been games that aren't even attached to like a Sony or Microsoft or Nintendo. It's been like these random third-party devs or just devs that I've never heard of before, or just not even like Devolver Digital, right? Like they've given me some crazy ass games that I've been like, damn, these I didn't expect to like this game, but I love it, right?
Or the people who made Sea of Stars.
Yeah. One of my favorite games of the past fucking 5 years is Neon White, and I never would have expected that game to be what it was, right? And that wasn't a fucking AAA game.
No.
Like, what is it? Fucking Baldur's Gate 3. That's just not attached to any fucking public. Like, obviously, of course, fucking Microsoft went and gave them some money or whatever to put that shit on Game Pass or whatever, but that doesn't count. Like,
we're sorry.
Yeah, right. Yeah, a lot of the games that I've cared about, like bro, Stellar Blade comes out and I've never heard of this developer in my life.
Yeah.
That Wukong game that comes out this summer, new dev, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. I want more. Give me more.
Definitely.
I want more new devs, not new devs, but new dev studios that aren't afraid to take risks and make shit that they want to make. You can tell the people that made Stellar Blade. Let's not talk about the quality of the game. The game could come out and it could be hot garbage, right?
Yeah.
But the way that they've like marketed the game, the way that they spoke about the game, seems like this is the game that this is the game that they want to make. All right, so I'm all for that. The game could be trash, but I'm all for playing a game that seems like the developers actually gave a fuck about the game. Even Dragon's Dogma 2. Now, Capcom obviously is it's a third party dev, but they're known for making pretty good AAA games, right? So Dragon's Dogma doesn't really count, but it does for me because I never expected to get a sequel to Dragon's Dogma ever. So you could tell this is like a game.
It's a passion project.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you, Monster Hunter.
Thank you, Monster Hunter.
Exactly.
Thank you. RE4 now. RE4 remake. Thank you to that as well.
But we could say thank you, Monster Hunter, but you got to think about it this way, right? Any other company, a lot of other companies would have said, yeah, thank you, Monster Hunter. And just kept dumping out Monster Hunter every single year. Every single year, Monster Hunter.
Well,
I mean, don't get me wrong. They're still making Monster Hunter.
No, they're not. That's not what I'm saying. They're not making it every single year. They're not saying, "Oh, you like Monster Hunter? Oh shit, all
right."
They're
not doing the Assassin's Creed or the fucking Call of Duty Activision.
Yeah, exactly. Like as soon as Assassin's Creed blew up, every year. As soon as COD blew up, every single year, right? So
they got standard quality.
Well, you know, Capcom has that advantage that a lot of other devs don't necessarily have, where they have like 2 big money makers rather than one, so they could just focus on one and then give it a break.
Get a Final Fantasy game every single year, right?
Yeah.
Is Capcom the best right now?
No.
Do we think?
I don't want to give them
Capcom's
too
best?
much credit.
Japanese
I mean,
maybe.
Just think
if Dragon's Dogma is what it is, I mean, we will have
are they the most consistent right now? Absolutely.
They haven't missed in a while, and you know they used to miss. There was a turning point. RE7 was a turning point, right? Like I think right now, like, you know, not to get their heads too big, but I think they've been hitting out bangers. They've been putting out quality.
The biggest flop is what, Exo Primal. Yeah.
No, I'm thinking about like
it's absolutely the fucking turning
point. Yes, it was a turning point financially, but I think as far as quality, RE7.
I don't think so, because don't get me wrong, I love that game, but I don't know. I don't feel like they had faith in that game. Let me not say they didn't. Let me not say that. I don't think they like. Oh man, that game's perception wasn't that great compared to Village, right? I'm comparing it to Village because Village felt like what RE7 should have been to me, right? Yeah. When RE7 came out, I don't know. I'm trying to. Then again, that was the first RE Engine game, right?
Yeah, I think that was the first RE Engine game. I think they had tremendous faith in it because that was a heavy VR game. That was heavily developed from the ground up for VR. So they put a lot behind it.
And then
I feel like they knew. Let me rephrase. I feel like they threw that shit at the wall and they hoped it sticked, right? Because I don't think
it was a chance. It was their first big chance.
I think they knew that making it a first-person game was a risk.
Yes.
Having a new main character that we've never played with before is a risk, and clearly nobody liked him anyway. And like there were just a lot of things in that game that I felt like it was a coin flip. They were like, this is either gonna work or it's not. And from what I heard, didn't that game not sell too well? Well, it didn't sell up to standard when it came out.
I think it sold well in hindsight. Or
I can't comment.
After
In
years,
hindsight,
I think it sold well.
Yeah, in hindsight, of course. But I'm talking
I think
about
it sold well.
I don't think that game did well.
You know what it is? I think people got interested after hearing about the Kenshin demo. I think after they saw that Kenshin demo and playing it in VR, that's when people started like, oh, so
the VR craze kind of sold that. Quick question. This is a side point, but do you think that if that was not a RE branded game, would it have done as well?
No, I don't think so at all. Like look, let's be 100% honest.
No.
That's why I'm being 100% real. Yeah.
I'm an RE fan, just like everybody else. But if you take some of these games and you take away the RE name, a lot of people will not care. That's just how brand recognition works. Yeah. Like, if it's not titled Resident Evil, it's not gonna sell. Right? People might be interested. If you say, oh, from the makers of Resident Evil, shit, even if let's just say it's a completely brand new game that looks like Resident Evil, no one's gonna care. If it's not Resident Evil, no one's gonna care. People will buy it through word of mouth. If they hear it's good, whatever, they'll buy it, but it's not gonna.
I mean, the closest that they've been is probably what, Dino Crisis? Probably the closest they've been.
Did Dino Crisis even sell like that compared to RE?
No,
I don't think so.
No, it didn't.
Yeah, I'm pretty. Yeah, so there you go. Like,
yeah.
It sucks, but remember, I say the same thing all the time. Remember DMC?
Yeah.
Like DMC only did well because it was called DMC. But the irony is that if the game wasn't called DMC, I feel like people would have.
That's the foot on the other boot. Yeah.
Yeah.
The boot on the other foot, I should say.
Yeah, because I think if it wasn't called DMC, I might have enjoyed it way more. But that's just me because I just enjoy games anyway. I'm always interested in something different and new, whatever, right? But most people just want to know that, oh, this is from a series I trust. This is from a developer that I know, whatever, right? I'm gonna buy it. Oh, it's called Resident Evil? Okay, cool. I'm interested. So,
well,
bro, RE7, because let's be real. In hindsight, look at all the games now that look like RE7, that were inspired by that game, that look just like RE7, if not better sometimes. There's a lot of random ass horror games on Steam that look just like RE7. Yeah. And it's crazy. So
it's very influential.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't know. That was a very divisive game when it came out. So
I think it caused a lot of what's the word?
Monster Hunter was very safe.
Yeah, like, Monster Hunter
just looked like the AAA version of the game that
everyone wanted.
Yeah.
Always wanted.
Yeah, exactly.
That was the one thing stopping me from playing Monster Hunter, because I was like, they look kind of cool, but
yeah.
RE7 was like the start of the turning point, but Monster Hunter was definitely the catalyst. That shit.
It was like them saying,
shit.
Okay, like, we're doing new things. Like, but we're trying to, do new things. Monster Hunter just cemented it. Like, okay, we're good at making video games. Like,